Why? Why do you do this? Reggie, you shed. You look so good, dude. He's something that all you Americans cannot have. And he is extremely, whoa, zoomy apparently. That's a little sneak peek. Oh, ho, ho, coffee's here for my boy Logan. Made in Michigan. And you guys know what time it is. Reptile Room Tour, December 2023. Man, that is good. Very good coffee. Thanks, Mr. Logan. Appreciate it. This, of course, will be the last Reptile Room Tour of the year because it is now mid-December, so we've done a few things in the room that I'll show you guys as we progress. And yeah, there's a lot to be done in the new year. It's going to be a crazy time. We're leaving for 2 weeks at the very end of December. Try and get as much done before then, and that includes this Reptile Room Tour. Now, while I sip my coffee here, it is important to have a disclaimer because I do not think that everybody should have this many reptiles. We have 130-ish. You guys will not be seeing nearly that many in this video because most of them are actually in brumation. I will show you what we have right now, and because everything in brumation, it gives us a lot more time to do these special projects that I mentioned earlier in this video. Please understand that this is a ton of work. This is basically an extra full-time job on top of both Brie and I's other full-time job. And while it looks all glamorous and glorious, I promise you there are trials and tribulations of having this many animals passing, the constant care that is required, constantly trying to level up our enclosures. All of that comes into play when considering owning this many animals. Certainly not all fun and games, but it is something that I very much enjoy and something that I truly love and have a passion for. Otherwise, I wouldn't be open to just sharing the entire reptile room with you guys all at once, unfiltered, with all the updates on projects, etc. I'm going to stop blabbling. Let's get into the video. Before getting too far into this video, I do want to thank MorphMarket for sponsoring. We'll talk about them more later in the video. We're going to start off today's video with the peninsula area. This is just kind of a centerpiece in the room, and I'll be jumping back and forth from thing to thing, but as per usual, I will be leaving the chapters in the kind of timeline down below so you guys can click through and see what animals you really want to see, or, you know, just watch the whole thing, because why not? And we're going to begin with Kalea. This is Brie's red-tail rat snake, Gonyosoma oxycephalum. This is the Borneo locale, so she's much more yellow and kind of blue. And instead of a red tail, a blue tail, kind of a slate gray to blue tail. These guys are fantastic. She has so much character. We do actually have a male for her, but he's currently at our good friend's house, hopefully producing some babies. Whilst she exists in this 36 by 18 by 24 Exoterra, she can definitely be quite a savage when it comes to food and a little sketchy when cleaning the enclosure. But overall, she is a fantastic animal and I'm very happy to have her. These rat snakes were one of Brie's dream species, and when they came available, she had to have them. This one here is actually descendants from a line in Russia, and as you guys know, Russia's very challenging to get stuff out of right now. She was one of the last ones exported. They are still coming in from here and there, but overall, she is a very rare snake, and we're so happy that she's fairly well-mannered and behaves quite well when she needs to. She will be getting moved into this bad boy right here. This is a 4x2x4 custom-made wood enclosure, and this will finally be getting done in the first quarter, hopefully, of 2024, because there are some brand new products being released by one of my favorite manufacturers, and they are going in this tank here. So be excited for it. It will be happening. We do have the background mostly done. It was done by one of our good friends, and I just can't wait to get started on this. This is primarily Brie's project though, so whenever she decides to get going on it, then I will definitely help her out with that. I guess one of the new additions, if you guys didn't see my last video, make sure you go check it out in the corner up here, is Borb. I believe this is a regal jumping spider based on the comments from that video, but if you're interested in learning more about him, then make sure you go check out my past video because I get some better footage, and maybe you guys can help me with what species that is exactly. Brie found him at a reptile expo, tried to return him to every single vendor we could find, and nobody took him. So Brie ended up buying this tarantula crib for him, and now he lives here. Over here, and I think you guys just had a cameo from them, one of our favorite snakes, the Chionactis occipitalis. These guys are insectivorous snakes from Western USA, and we actually saw some breeding activity from them. So I'm really hoping that maybe we can produce another little baby. We did produce one when we first got them in. It was captive hatched, I guess, not really captive bred. He's not out. His name is Ho. We don't know what sex he is, but he's in this random Amazon enclosure that we got, and quite frankly, it's pretty sweet. There are a couple flaws, but if there's anything you guys are wondering or want links to, I'll leave them in the description down below for you guys to check them out, including this enclosure, as well as like things like that watering can, this table, etc. By clicking those links, they are affiliate links, so you get to help me out at no extra cost to you. Simple, easy, and we can continue with, this is the male poking his head out right here, and the female is zooming at the back there. We just fed these guys the other day. And if you guys are wondering how we feed all the animals in this reptile room, I'll be making a video later this month feeding all of the reptiles that are currently out. It's gonna be one heck of a video, but stay tuned to the channel. And make sure you click subscribe. If you like it so far, click the like button, and let's continue. With some of the biggest dum-dums in the room, this is Gumby, Chumby, and Blumby. These are the Mexican giant tree frogs. These guys are Agaleicnus dacny color. I really want to wake one of them up so you guys can see their eyes. They're not just whites. She might eat my finger, but yo, there we are. This is Gumby, and then that's Blumby, and then that's Chumby. These guys are Bree's frogs. She really likes the tubby frog aesthetic, so we ended up picking these up at Tinley in 2022, and they've been doing fantastic. We do hope to produce these at some point. Who knows when that will be, whether it's this year or the year after. I guess only time will really tell. Their tank is growing in too well. This is what happens when you have this junk, Ficus pumila. It looks incredible, and then it grows over everything. Look, it's already swallowed that Pleurophorum. It's already swallowing that bromeliad. It's just going nuts in this tank, but it looks great. I can't deny that. It looks super, super good. If you guys are wanting like a full, I guess, care video, or how we're caring for them at least, let me know in the comments down below. I feel like these guys kind of have a cult following, so leave your comments down there and maybe it'll get done. I love them. Bree loves them even more than I do. Yeah, stay tuned for the feeding video because these guys are hysterical when feeding time comes around. So we've now completed the center peninsula, and now we're actually going to move outside the room to check out the Fijian banded iguana named Tatoka. This is him right here. He is in the middle of a very, very deep shed, so he's looking kind of like trash, but he's something that all you Americans cannot have. But here in Canada, they are actually quite common. They're not cheap, but they're fairly common. If you're to ask me and many of my friends who own these are the best species of iguana you can own in captivity because that is an adult male. He looks adequately sized for this 4x2x4 enclosure, and I honestly believe that these guys are a fantastic option as a pet. They tame down very easily. They're not prone to biting. Since he's been living out of the reptile room, whoop. As you guys can see, definitely less tame than he used to be. I can still go in there, grab him, hold him, and he's totally fine. It's not something that we do that often because, frankly, he's just a beautiful thing to look at. At this point in keeping reptiles, 2 decades in, we're kind of past the point of needing to hold every single animal, and I'm very happy that that's the case because he's just a very picturesque lizard. He has some native Fijian grass that's like kind of doing well, but like kind of not. That's a Philodendron giganteum, and then he also has a palm tree here, and somewhere back there, maybe up there I guess, is some pothos that we planted. In the new year, probably next summer, we intend to just go through the substrate layer, kind of refresh it a little bit, maybe add some new plants and whatnot, because it does look a little run down. I think it looks very natural, but we want to get some other plants in there, maybe re-put the pothos somewhere else. Lots of things in regards to Tatoka going on, but for now, he's just chilling like a villain. I hope you guys enjoyed Mr. Tatoka here. I know the past few Reptile Room tours I haven't featured him super heavily, so I figured I would give you guys some time with him. Moving back into the room, you guys can tell that this rack is completely empty. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, all the hognoses are currently in brumation. There's not really a whole lot to share there. Over here, though, there are some full bins, and we will be checking things out. All of our holdbacks that were ready to be brumated are currently in brumation. formation, so basically this whole bottom portion. Now, unlike the bottom rack, the top rack is still currently occupied by several different hognoses as well as some FUEGO. Let's take a look at some of the hognoses that are currently available as well as the FUEGO. First, we're going to start off with this beautiful moon dust. Check him out. This is a moon dust. An Arctic lavender. Colors aren't really, oh, there they are. Now they're coming out a little bit stronger. He has had his first growth shed. One thing that I love about our hognoses is that we ensure that they've had 10 consecutive meals before we end up offering them for sale. And if you're wondering where we offer them up for sale, the best place to list your snakes as well as shop for snakes is MorphMarket. If you guys haven't heard of MorphMarket, have you been living under a rock? MorphMarket is a one-stop shop to add a new pet to your home. That includes thousands of reptiles, tons of amphibians, they even have inverts, and now they're offering fish. I think one of my favorite things about MorphMarket is that it's such a good place for sellers to connect with buyers that are not tied to your social media. MorphMarket sees over 500,000 users monthly, so gone are the days of having an incredibly successful breeding season only to find yourself stuck not being able to find new homes for them. And for all you sellers out there, a little bit of a personal anecdote. Just a few months ago, we went to a reptile expo locally here and didn't move a single animal. So that night we got home, added them to MorphMarket, and within a few days, we had sold over 80% of what we had brought to the expo. It's not all about selling though. Whether you're on a browser or on the go, MorphMarket makes it easy to find that one special animal that you've always wanted but never had the opportunity of finding at an expo. You can now find it online. It makes a great place for the sellers to connect with their buyers, as well as the flip side, the buyers get to message the sellers before they commit. All you Canadians? Yeah, you guys? I'm talking to you here. MorphMarket is the place to be. We already know that the Canadian market is what it is. It organically expands your reach to an international audience. MorphMarket is currently available in 5 different regions: Canada, the USA, Mexico, South Africa, and Europe. If you're interested in a MorphMarket membership for yourself, you guys can use the sign up link in the description where you can start a free account, or you can begin your venture selling if you have a bunch of animals that are ready to go. Of course, the best things you can find are the Jungle Vault Hognose babies, as well as Tachydromus, but we'll talk about them later. So thank you, Mrs., for being so well behaved for today's video. Now we can move to another one that's available. This is a twin spot triple het. It's het for albino frosted. So this guy is a true twin spot. In the last Reptile Room Tour, I kind of briefly mentioned the difference between like what some people call a twin spot and something like this. A lot of people designate their hognoses as twin spots if they have only a couple little spots right next to each other, but this one, as you guys can tell, has like 2 saddles all the way at the very end of his body. The rest are entirely twin spotted. So she really is an incredible grab. If you guys want her to join your reptile room, we do offer shipping to the States as well as here in Canada. Hit us up and we can move on to the next critter. The last animal we have up for sale is currently this stunning FUEGO nigriceps, otherwise known as the black-headed cat snake. Of course, she's in like the worst spot available. These guys are one of Bree's passion projects. The black-headed cat snakes that you see in front of you here are typically regarded as one of the more toxic species of the FUEGO genus. However, being that they are slightly more toxic, they are also extremely well-mannered. These guys are very reluctant to bite at all. And look at her. She is simply a stunning individual. I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about her because they're just great. We do feed them pinkies from the very beginning. She's eating incredibly well. And I know Bree's sad to see her go eventually to one of you guys. But alas, that is part of producing snakes. You have to let them go eventually. You can't keep them all. So that is the last available animal that we have currently. Now, rather than going through every single individual snake in here, I do want to highlight just a couple of the holdbacks that we have because there are just some crazy individuals that you guys have to see. Such as this one right here. His name is Wildcard. He's actually a Arctic het lavender, and he is extremely, whoa, zoomy apparently. Goodness me. Where the heck are you going, buddy? You almost met the floor as well. Well, thank you. I guess I get to hold you now. Because you can't be trusted. I'll show you guys one of his clutch mates. And hopefully you guys will be able to tell just how red he is in comparison. He's definitely got a case of the zoomies, though. He was just fed like 2 days ago. Why are you so crazy, man? He's one of those snakes that hatches and you're like, whoa, something's different about this one. What the heck is it? I have no idea. For comparison's sake, I will show you guys one of his clutch mates. And this is one of his clutch mates. This is just a normal Arctic het lavender. Stunning individual, but again, completely different to what you guys just saw. I mean, check out the difference. Now this inquisitive little female is actually sold, so unfortunately, if you guys were interested, no can do. Now the last individual that I'm going to take out is the Moonstone, which is a super Arctic lavender, and she is glowing. Man, what's with you guys being so nuts? You guys can tell they're just like almost like liquid silver. They're just so cool. She did have her first growth shed, so she's looking a little bit different than she did in the last video, but still. I mean, look at that snake. How can you not love a white snake with like silver patches on it? That wraps up the baby / holdback rack, the ones that aren't information. Now we can check out the whole rest of the room, and I think we're gonna start with the wood tanks just behind me here, ending with this incredible 110-gallon vivarium I built. Links up in the top somewhere, I can't remember which side, for you guys to check it out. It's one heck of a build, and there'll be a second build this size going right next to it in 2024. Our first stop clockwise around the room is going to be the wood rack of 120-gallon enclosures, otherwise known as 4x2x2s. We'll start down here first with my yellow Ackie monitor, Mr. Vulcan. He's passed out on the back wall there, so unfortunately not a whole lot to report with him. He's doing fairly well. I have noticed some of his toes starting to swell a little bit, so if you guys have seen that in monitors, specifically Ackies, please let me know. I will be talking to my vet about it as well. It just started happening and I want to be real with you guys, so I'm not going to lie about that, even though he's way back there. Oh, there he is. Hi, buddy. The rest of his enclosure is definitely due for a little bit of a spiff up. He could use some different rock layout, but we do have so many other projects going on that he is doing well right now, and he'll be one of the last critters to be kind of rejigged and reset up. Overall, I like how his habitat looks. We got the universal rock background, we got UVB, we got crazy hot basking temperatures of about 140 Fahrenheit. Moving up to Mr. Indy, Bree just recently went through his enclosure and kind of spiffed it up, added a little bit more soil as well as some leaf litter, so it's looking very clean and fresh right now. Indy is a little savage. Indy's just starting to shed, that's why he's got kind of that weird like dirt mustache, because he's shoving his head under the substrate and it's getting caught under the shed. He is a northern blue-tongued skink, Taliqua skinkoides intermedia, and he's doing so well. Can you give us a little blue tongue? You gotta live up to your name, buddy. There you go. It's like, I eat finger? Finger I eat? On the feeding video I'm going to be posting pretty soon here, his feeding was crazy. He went nuts for the hornworms that I gave him, and he dug a little hole in the back trying to eat them. Indy's just enjoying life, chilling. We do feed him once to twice a week, but truly, that's what they're supposed to look like. They're not supposed to look like round baguettes that can hardly move. That's enough Indy for one day. He's Breeze. Truly Bree's pet. He's about 7 or maybe 8 years old at this point and doing fantastic. Moving from Indy to Mr. Hugo here, we have some kind of unfortunate news that I won't really go into details in this video in. If you guys are interested, again, check the last video on my channel. I go into great detail about what happened to Olga. Unfortunately, she did pass away, and I did actually end up getting another yellow female Uromastyx geri, or Saharan Uromastyx, from one of my good friends, Darren. Go check out that video. I don't want to take up too much of this reptile room tour with that story, but they're doing fantastic. Hugo is looking vibrant, and unfortunately Greta, who is the new female's name, is still quite timid, and she's hiding an awful lot. So I go through here about once a week and just make sure she's doing well, make sure she's still looking okay, and so far so good. They are getting along quite well. I haven't seen any aggression or anything from Hugo's side of things. He's typically pretty timid. He's such a good boy. With the news of Olga passing, we have wrapped up the wood enclosures, and now we can actually go to this massive 6-foot rack covered in various different reptiles. I do get the question all the time where I get these racks from. You can find them at pretty much any big box store or Costco. We have 2 different brands. They both are fine. They do actually hold about 2,000 pounds per shelf. So plenty of poundage being supported, and these tanks, these little 12x18s, are nowhere near heavy enough to cave one of these guys in. Starting off this rack, we're going to go for the Urodactylodes symmetricus, otherwise known as the large-scaled chameleon gecko. I wish they were called like the crested chameleon gecko. That would be cool. She looks like she's carrying some eggs down there. She is large. I love the Urodactylodes. They are such a perfect beginner reptile. This particular species is actually quite expensive in comparison to like the Agricolae or even the Viardi. These guys are quite a bit more expensive, but in essence, they're very similar. These guys just produce way slower and in my opinion are a little bit cooler, but they are an incredible species. As I was saying, they are super easy to care for. They eat Pangea primarily. You can also feed them some small crickets and such, but they just make for a easy to handle, easy to care for, no real heat required. They're very similar care to most of the other New Caledonian geckos. Obviously, Chahoua are a little bit more specialized in their diet, but things like crested geckos, these are basically the same care, just slightly less Pangea, and they reproduce much slower than cresties do. Next to them, we begin the escapade to the green army. These are Tachydromus smaragdinus. That's a little male right there. Another male right there. And that looks like a female there. These guys are all between like 1 and 2 months old, all being cohabbed in the same 12x12x18 exo. You guys can see we pack their enclosure with tons of different little twigs and such. These guys are small twig specialists. They glide across these twigs and grasses, like their name, the green grass lizard or emerald grass lizard suggests. Like, I mean, look at them navigating just this alone. They just fly up and down. They're so personable. They're so cool. The Smaragdinus, the ones that you're watching right now, are definitely a little bit more timid and shy. However, they are always active, always out, and just make for one of the best pet reptiles that I can think of. This whole genus is pretty much my favorite in the reptile room, and that is because the adults, which are over here, the male's typically quite skittish, as you guys can see, but the females are much more inquisitive. They do have a very densely planted tank, but when food time comes, you better know that they are coming flying to the front, grabbing food, and just zooming all around. Super entertaining lizards. I guess we can just stay here for a moment. These are the adults. This is the trio that has produced all the babies. They produce about 1 clutch consisting of 2 eggs every 2 to 3 weeks, so they do reproduce very fast. And then typically during winter time, because we do a light cycle drop as well as a temperature drop in the room, they tend to slow down. They don't eat quite as much. They slow down reproduction as well, pretty much to 0. Last winter we didn't have any eggs. So far since late August, September, they have not laid any good eggs either, so they're slowing down. It's kind of a nice change of pace and gives us some time to raise the Emerald Dragon Army. Now, sticking to the same effect, these are the Sakishima grass lizards, otherwise known as the Tachydromus dorsalis. These are, I think, my favorite species in the room. It's really hard to whittle it down. They're so personable. They get a little bit bigger, probably 1.5 times bigger than the smaller green grass lizards here. These are the only 2 from this pair that I have remaining. We have a smaller one down there and a larger one up there. They're doing fantastic. These guys are typically pretty chill. Hi, buddy. Let me go, man. I'm doing my own thing, trying to bask, and you're just annoying me. They are tree dwellers, so they love hanging up at the top of the enclosure. You can see this ficus really grew in very, very well, and actually does need to be trimmed down a bit because the tops are getting kind of toasted by that little basking light there. Right next to the babies from group 1, we have the female, adult female from group 2, in this enclosure here. She's hiding. They will be getting upgraded to a 22 by 17 by 24 inch tall tank. That will be later on in the future. They're both kind of separated right now. The male is not doing quite so hot. I don't think he's out right now, but we can go check. I'll talk more about these guys when we can actually see the adults. I don't really want to bore you guys with just an empty tank. The male is currently over on the far side rack next to the frogs. He is quite skinny. We have treated him a few times for coccidia as well as some panicure, and he doesn't seem to be getting much better. So the next step will be talking to my vet and seeing if there's anything we can really do. Unfortunately, his waist is too small to test for any major things like coccidia or crypto or anything like that. So I think it's just going to have to be more of a broad spectrum treatment. I'll talk to Dr. Brown about that, and hopefully we'll have a solution here coming up soon. These are the babies from group 2, or that female and the male I just showed you. These guys are doing swell. They're so energetic. They're always bouncing around and they're always hungry. That's what I love about them. But again, they're so inquisitive. I gotta be careful because there's 3 of them in here. They're just so inquisitive and interested in like everything. You can see that one's just chilling. Normally, lizards of this size, of most species, are quite scared, quite timid, typically quite skittish, but these guys are always, the second I walk into the room, running at the front of the glass, waiting for food or water or what have you. They're just always around. Again, one of the best species in the room. I guess we'll stick to the whole Tachydermis train so we can get it over all at once. For those of you who want to skip past it, you guys certainly can. This is Midori and Turok. This is Turok right here. And Midori is typically hiding in her little cork tube down there. But this is why I love these lizards. They just hang out in trees, they bask, they're active all the time, and typically, watch him prove me wrong right now, but typically they're quite chill. He's the more skittish of the few of these guys that we have, but you can still see, I can go in there, pet him, interact with him. He'll hop out on me. Midori will also hop out on me. They're just one of those species of lizards that I've wanted for decades, and I finally pulled the trigger on them. I actually started with this trio here, the Smaragdinus, and then once these guys came available, I was like, I have to have them. I truly think that not only do these lizards need more popularity and more kind of publication, I guess, they also are just so cool to keep. Whether I produce them or not, I don't care. I just love to have them. They're always one of the lights in the reptile room. You can always come in, see them, interact with them if that's something that you enjoy doing. I'm going to stop rambling about Tachydermis because we've been going for several minutes now. I think you guys get the point. Again, these guys will be available on MorphMarket, or you can send me a message on Instagram. We are not exporting to the States until March because of Christmas, and then typically it's pretty cold in January, February. Most of the time, shipping resumes mid-March, and by that time, we should have a couple of them available from maybe one from group 1 and then 1 or 2 from group 2. Now we can go back to the Diplodactylus galeatus, otherwise known as the helmeted geckos. Breed recently went through here and spruced up their enclosure a little bit. I wasn't planning on feeding anybody today, but I would really like for you guys to see these guys. So I'm going to toss a few crickets in there and hope that they come running. Hello! They're so cute. I love them. They're giant, beady eyes. Their little helmet that they wear. Oh, there he goes. Get him. You suck. Look at him. They're like the perfect little tiny Australian gecko. These guys are no bigger than my index finger. They can live together in groups. We do have a trio currently in here. And before anybody yells at me, they will be getting moved in the very near future over to actually replace the Damium in this tank right down here, because they're getting an upgrade to a 24-inch long tank that is currently being built. So please don't yell at me too loud in the comments. They're doing great. We do watch for any aggression or any, skinnier geckos, all of the signs of potentially not doing so well. And so far, so good. That is the helmeted geckos, or the Diplodactylus galeatus. Now we can move down to another Australian gecko, and potentially the only one in Canada. This is Strophoris wellingtoni, otherwise known as the Western Shield spiny-tailed gecko. What a mouthful that is, am I right? Strophoris wellingtoni is easier to say than that. She's just chilling on the back wall there. can see they kind of have like almost diamond-like eyes. The spikes on her tail are actually like a red color. Boy, is she a stunning gecko. We're so happy to have her. She is technically available if anybody's interested because of some shenanigans at the border. We are currently not able to ship her to the States, but if you are in Canada looking for an extremely cool Strophrus, then this is the one for you. If people don't want her, Bree and I are very happy to keep her because she is a very charismatic gecko and offers an incredible feeding response that we love to watch. That wraps up our time with the Strophrus Wellingtone. Now we can go to Chahoua time. Monaro Gecko Chahoua. We have 5 plus a few babies. This guy we ended up picking up this past Tinley, October 2023 from Sundown Reptiles. Mr. Brian, a fantastic breeder in the US. His name is Kestrel, and I believe, Brie will probably shout at me as she hears this, but I believe he's being paired to Wallflower here. I heard no shouting, so that's good. She's about a 1.5-year-old female, again, from Sundown Reptiles. We actually won her in an auction. We really didn't expect to win, but we got her for one heck of a steal, and the babies that these two will produce will be stunning. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Over here in the last of the kind of grow out enclosures is Lark, and she is the very first Chahoua that we ever produced here in the jungle vault. And of course she is also hiding, so I can't really show her off. Her enclosure is growing in quite well. Those of you who might be wondering why are they in 12x18s, well, they're there temporarily. Once they're old enough to breed and they've produced their first clutch of eggs, we'll be upgrading them and pairing them together into an 18-18-24. And just so you guys are aware, we do try and upgrade everything to the biggest enclosure we can possibly accommodate. At the moment, that is an 18-18-24. However, when we end up getting our own place and we have more space, rather than filling it up with a whole bunch more animals, what we plan to do is upgrade them to probably 18-18-36s or maybe 24-18-24s. I think one of the main points that I try and put across in these videos is we put everything into these reptiles and we do like to provide the absolute best for them, hence all of the live planted naturalistic enclosures, rather than a ton of just, you know, cocoa chip, one hide, one branch, call it a day. Now, after my little tiny mini rant there, we're gonna wrap up the Chahoua portion of this tour with our current pair that is completely not out right now, so I don't have a whole lot to say about them, especially while you can't see them. They did produce a couple good eggs for us this year. If you guys are wondering why Chahoua are typically more expensive than crested geckos, that is because these guys produce like a maximum of maybe 8 eggs a year. Typically, you're more likely to get about 4 to 6, and from these guys, we only got 2. Let's go check out those babies right now. First 2 babies here we are offering up for sale. This is the older one, starting to get some of that really nice coloration, some nice beiges, some greens in there. Really nice patterning on this one. At this age, typically Chahoua tend to be quite skittish, I suppose. But if you work with them as they age, they generally slow down, become much more calculated, and are much more friendly. These guys aren't aggressive by any means, but they do be zoomy. And this is the first of the 2 babies that we got from Jigsaw and Rune. Doing his best to be a piece of cork. Now this gecko is only about a month and a half, maybe 2 months old. It's pounding crickets. As you can see, that's an empty Pangea dish there that I filled yesterday. Yeah, just growing like a monster. Oh, did you actually just strike for a cricket? That's so cute. And you're gone. Okay, now I can show you guys the whole back. Now this little flapjack right here is what I've named Predator. That is because, what I've named Predator because of that perfect tri-laser formation on its forehead there. This gecko is stunning. This is, again, about a month and a half old and completely fired down. So the greens aren't really popping, the peaches aren't really popping right now, but at this age, to have this much color, I don't know what this one's going to look like when it's an adult. If you guys don't know, the reason why I'm saying that is because the Chahoua typically hatch out more or less the same color. As they age, they develop more and more coloration, with peak coloration hitting at around 4-ish years and then lasting a few years, and then they typically dull out a little bit in their later years. But I'm just trying to give some perspective as to why I'm saying, you know, wow, this one looks stunning. If you've only seen 1 or 2 Chahoua, you're like, oh, they all look the same. But when you've seen many, like myself and Bree have, this one is definitely a standout and one that I cannot wait to see when it's an adult. You know, it's a sad day when you're like halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through the Reptile Room Tour, and you're already out of coffee. Hopefully you guys have refills. That was all I had. I mean, a new beer, new coffee, whatever you're drinking. Anyway, back to the reptiles. Wrapping up this rack here, we have the Oophaga Pumilio Bastimentos. These are the gold dust. You can see there's my male, just chilling. And some very exciting news is that we actually have our first baby. However, it hides all the time, and I don't see it all the time. So I'm not even going to waste your time looking through this tank trying to find it, because truthfully, the likelihood of me finding it is basically 0. You guys got to see the male. I don't want to spend too much time on a mostly empty tank, because you guys get to enjoy that beautiful male just chilling right there. Moving down low, if you guys haven't seen that new additions video that I posted and I've mentioned a couple times in this video, well, you're missing out, because chances are these guys aren't out right now. Oh, maybe. That's a little sneak peek. I don't want to give away exactly. Actually, yeah, I will. These are blue Histrionica, Oophaga Histrionica, the blue locale. Oh, you're actually out. Nice. This is like the first time I've actually caught this one out. It looks like he's in the middle of eating. This one is a really, it almost looks white on camera, but it's a really nice baby blue that I love. That is literally my favorite color right there. The baby blue is just so clean. These guys are currently being acclimated, I suppose, in bins. There's only one that hasn't really been eating as much as I would like, and it's the one I showed you in the very beginning. This one seems to be doing very well, and I have a third one on the rack over here, and oh wow, she's actually out as well. Right there. I think this is the female. She's the largest, most bold. Not that it has anything to do with the sex of the frog, but yeah, you guys get the point. That's what will be going in the other massive vivarium over here. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Click that subscribe button. That video will be released probably middle of January or early February. And now the last homie of this rack is the shell. What up, dude? Shell is doing well. I do have to bring him into the vet to get his beak trimmed again, probably later in the future. If not, Bree and I might even give it a shot. It's really not that hard. I have done it a couple times before, but never with my own tortoise, ironically. I know in every single video I mention that he will be getting an upgrade. I have the wood, but I have to finish that tank to move those frogs out in order to give him the space to have this entire bottom row here. At that time, I'll be making a video building a tortoise pen and setting it up really nicely for exactly what our boy deserves. Mr. Sheldon, the Hermann's tortoise. He's, man, probably 6 or 7 years old at this point, so still a very young tortoise. Overall, pretty healthy shell growth. The only issue, he has a little bit of an overgrown beak. Nothing too crazy right now. We do need to nip it in the butt before it gets too long and affects his eating. Moving on over to here, we have another large 6-foot rack. We have a couple little Mourning Geckos. That one's missing a tail, oh no. That one's not, so that's good. And then we have several adults in this enclosure as well. They'll be getting an upgrade to this size vivarium, which is a 12 by 12 by 24 Exoterra enclosure. Very soon, they're probably like 3rd or 4th on the priority list, so it should be a couple months from now, and we'll be trying to catch all of the parthenogenetic ladies in here and moving them into the new enclosure. There's not a whole lot to mention at this point about the FUEGO, Mrs. Calamity. She is the mother to all of our little baby FUEGOs, and she is never out. So I'll try and get some footage of her tonight in order to insert over this. She's in here currently, an 18-18-24, and when we get the full build for the Ratnsakes done, she will be getting moved into the 36-18-24. It will be probably this enclosure, but obviously torn down, cleaned, reset up. In that 12 by 12 by 24 enclosure that I mentioned, we have Scaphiophragny marmorata, otherwise known as the Madagascan rain frog, or I'll put the proper common name on screen because I don't actually know what the full proper common name is for them. Excuse me, ma'am, those aren't your crickets. But an even bigger treat is that one of them is out right now. Get it? Nice. Bree recently set up this with the cork panel background method, and I gotta say, it looks pretty slick. For lighting on this enclosure currently, we have 3 skylight little tiny puck LEDs, kinda. I mean, they're squares, but you know what I mean. They're small, compact LEDs lighting this. During the nighttime, they come out and they use all of the enclosure space. They crawl up the branches. They're super active. Most days, these guys do end up burrowing down in the substrate. And then at nighttime, like we observed in the wild in Madagascar, these guys come out and climb up using all the usable space in this enclosure. And then once daytime turns around, they come back and burrow themselves in the ground. Of course, thankfully, we actually are able to see them today. But there are currently 2 in here. I know only 1 is out at the moment. There are 2 inhabiting this enclosure, and we are on the lookout for more. So if you're in Canada and you have Scaphiophragny marmorata, please let us know. That can be done by either emailing us at our website, thejunglevault.ca, or messaging Bree or I on Instagram. Moving down to the very bottom of the rack, we have the Leucasium damium, as well as Reginald. Reggie, you shed. You look so good, dude. If you guys don't know what that is a Centralian pebble dragon, Tympanocrypsis centralis. These guys are an earless dragon from good old Australia, just like his tank mates, the Leucasium damium. Most days look like they sleep like they're dead. I promise you that gecko is alive. I have to prove it because people won't believe me. You walked around, right? Yep. We think this female might be gravid. We did check her with a light, and she doesn't look super gravid. She might just be ovulating right now. And then we'll form eggs a little bit later. But yes, I told you she was alive. I promise. They always sleep like they're dead. Reggie is straight up vibing. He's just wanting food. If you guys are curious about more information on, I guess, the Leucasium and Reggie, you guys can check out, again, my last video. I'll leave a link in the description for you guys to check it out. I do go into some detail about Reggie, how we got him, kind of what his lifestyle is. They're a very, very cool species of lizard, and I'm hoping that we're able to get them a little bit more popular in Canada because they are truly like a mini bearded dragon, even though they're completely unrelated, but we won't go into that argument right now. These guys will be getting an upgrade to a 24 by 18 by 18 XO. Right now we do have a group of the damium in here with Reggie. What are you doing? Being a little creeper. Once again, I'll reiterate, we do keep a very close eye on these guys. They are all doing fine. Reggie has grown up with these guys his whole life. He was given to us with the group of damium because they live together. So yeah, no issues there. They're doing fantastic. And how can you not love the face of a little Leucasium damium? My good friend Dion, Reptiliatus here on YouTube, is really popularizing the sand geckos, or sometimes called the dune geckos. But I honestly do think that I will die on this hill. These guys are equally as cool. Not quite as chill, but equally as cool, and basically just an Australian counterpart. They're so cute. They're so funny. They're very quirky. They can't catch crickets if their life depended on it, which it kind of does. I don't know. I guess they get enough meals in order to keep them nice, fat, and happy. As you can tell, they are very inquisitive, and Reggie is fast. He's a zoomer. Besides what I've already done, I'm not going to bug these guys anymore, so I'm going to leave these guys be. I hope you guys enjoyed the Australian geckos and, I guess, lizard. They are very cool, and we are very lucky to have them here. They are captive bred. We got them from Europe. I don't want to hear it in the comments, okay? Just enjoy the cute geckos. Your job is purely to enjoy these very cute geckos. We are continuing the Reptile Room Tour with the beautiful Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtle. I still don't really have a name for these guys. Nothing really stuck. I need that one, you know? People suggested, oh, Bonnie and Clyde, oh. There's a few different suggestions, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to call anybody directly out, but yeah, if you guys have suggestions for these guys, I have had them years, and I just call them the male and the female, as messed up as that might be. This is the male, and this is the female. And truly, last Reptile Room Tour, I thought was going to be the last time you guys saw them. We have recently stopped feeding them about a week and a half ago. So probably this coming weekend, they'll be going down into brumation as well for up to like 4 months. So it'll be a while before we see them again. But they're doing fantastic, as you can tell. Still one brain cell split between the two of them. I have no idea what he's looking at or looking for. He's just staring. He's probably staring at a leaf. Yep, I was right. He's just staring at a leaf. Both of these guys are definitely slowing down. The female especially, I've noticed she's much more reclusive. She's typically burrowed in the substrate. The male is, you know, you can kind of tell, still quite active and still hungry, but she has definitely slowed down quite a bit. So it is definitely the winter months, and they will be joining the hognoses and king snakes very soon. Why? Why do you do this? Honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world because you guys are just so special to me. I love them. Now that does it for the black-breasted leaf turtles and the entirety of this rack here. We can now move to the bottom of this rack, and a couple of you guys noticed the last Reptile Room Tour, I did not include these. This one would be very similar, except I don't want people to think that we got rid of them, sold them, they died, whatever. The Savu Ender is just hiding, and Cardinal, the Oreocryptophis porphyraceus coxeye, or the Thai bamboo rat snake, is also hiding. So that's why. Had I just cut them out, I would have saved you guys like 30 seconds of your life. And now it's like a minute of your life because I'm rambling. Okie dokie, the time has come. As I mentioned, the last few reptiles, I guess in this case, actually they're amphibians, would be the last up. But I did forget somebody, and I know you guys will call me out, and that is Mr. StrikeZilla, my first ever reptile 20 years ago, almost to the day. December 23rd is when I brought him home 2 decades ago. It actually might be 19 years, but I'm going to say 2 decades because that sounds cooler. I don't have an exact gotcha date written down, so that's what I say, is I got him 2003, December 23rd. I know the date's right. I just don't know if I got him in 2003 or 2004. Either way, 20 years old, still doing well. I will say, I say it in every video, I don't want to keep him in a bin. I do not. If you guys watch my past Reptile Room Tours from about 4 years ago, I actually kept him in a really nice naturalistic terrarium. He was doing well for the first while, and unfortunately, due to his old age and probably Mike 20 years ago being an 8-year-old and not necessarily being all that knowledgeable about, you know, supplementation and such, or it's just old age. Who knows? Not trying to blame past Mike here. He has lost a little bit of mobility in his back legs, and I found at that time he wasn't going to bask. He wasn't even leaving the hide when he was in the naturalistic enclosure. After bringing him here, he was still in it for a little while, and then Bree and I kind of had a talk. We basically agreed that we would move him into a bin. I hate it. It's not what I like for my reptiles, especially the way it's set up. Fortunately, I think it has preserved his life for many years. He's doing well, he's eating well, he's moving around well enough to traverse this paper towel. That's all I can ask for. He is truly the most special reptile to me. I love him, I take care of him. At the current moment, sometimes he tries to shed on his own, but the majority of the time I give him a little soak and help him shed. He's an old man. And before moving on to the tanks that are in front of me now, I did want to mention that when that awful day comes that Striker does pass, and I question reptile keeping as a whole, I promise to myself, I've also told Bree, that I will have another leopard gecko. It's the most basic of basic pets, but they just hold such a special place in my heart that I'll never be able to get rid of them. And at that time, we'll make a heck of an enclosure for them. Live plants, really nice setup. Enough of my blabbling. Let's talk about these frogs back here. I did say that these would be the last, I guess, contributors to the Reptile Room Tour, but I just had to get a shot of the male pouncing about on the beautiful Philodendron El Choco Red. I'll continue with that afterwards. Right now, we're going to move over to the smaller tank with the Oophaga Pumilio Bahia Grande, as you can see there. The most exciting news of all, especially with the dart frogs, is that little baby right there. That Oophaga Pumilio Bahia Grande, or otherwise known as Cristobal, morphed out about a month ago. I'm so excited. I totally had forgotten how small these guys really are. Like 3 of those babies would fit on my single thumbnail. They are so tiny. Now this one is about a month out of water and has definitely put on size. So it's a little bit bigger now, but still so exciting. That was the first one I found. Then shortly thereafter, I actually found the baby in the Bastimentos enclosure. The reptile room has been doing good. I'm very happy with everything that's been going on. Obviously, minus the passing of Olga, but we won't talk about that again because sadness. The adults in this enclosure do hide a lot. I tried to get them on camera. It was kind of a failed attempt. But either way, these guys are doing great. They're fat, they're happy, they're breeding, they're producing little babies, like little pipsqueak down here. So ecstatic to see that little baby. I just can't stop filming him. Sorry. We will move on from the Bahia Grande to the fantastic Oophaga Histrionica FUEGO. You guys already saw them kind of briefly earlier. And according to my good friend Troy Goldberg, as well as a few of my other frog friends, Joseph, Julio, Braxton, all those guys, probably won't be watching this video because they hate me. That was a joke for the record. Unless they do, in which case I don't know. Anyway, sorry, getting sidetracked. That is the male right there. Just chilling. They laid a clutch of eggs that ended up developing into tadpoles about 2.5 months ago. So, in theory, if they decided to raise the babies, even just one of them, they should be coming out of the water either right now, it might already be out, which I don't think so because I have done a pretty good sweep of this enclosure, or very, very soon. That will be one heck of a day. These guys have stopped producing clutches overall. That's kind of the update. We're basically just waiting, anticipating a very, very happy day and a Canadian first. I would be the very first person in Canada to produce these guys. That's not like really a bragging point to me because at the end of the day, if you set them up right, they'll breed. I was just the first ones to buy them in Canada. So nothing real special there. I don't want to hold myself up on some high horse because truly that is not who I am. And if you guys know me personally, you guys already know that. And so with that being said, I want to wish you guys a very happy holidays, I guess. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this reptile room tour. It was a lot of fun to make. Some sad moments, some very happy moments, like what could happen back here, as well as with all the other frogs. But I want to thank you guys all very much for watching till the end of the video. If you did so, please leave in your comment down below coffee in some way or another. Whether you're drinking it, you like it, you just want to prove that you made it to the end of the video, leave the word coffee or the emoji coffee in the comment section, and that way I know you made it to the very end. And if you did make it this far, you might as well click that subscribe button if you haven't already. You clearly like reptile room tours, and you obviously want to see more builds, more projects, more care videos, just more herpetofauna. You should click subscribe. And if you haven't already liked the video, make sure you do so. Leave a comment down below. I answer every single one. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Later.